Go live. Boom. We are live. Wonderful.
Sick.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll get on to it then, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the 6th PlayerMint Town Hall. I really appreciate everybody showing up, saying hi. I know it's Labor Day weekend, but I guess the grind doesn't stop, especially if you're a gamer. You're kind of used to playing a lot of video games and enjoying your time and all that. So I think I'll jump right on into it. I got a lot of fun stuff to cover today. Unfortunately, Grant was not able to make it. He has some other stuff going on today, but I think we're going to have a great time together. So can everybody see the screen for starters?
Yep,
Awesome.
I can. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great. So welcome to the PlayerMint Town Hall number 6. As I said earlier, we're going to dive right on in today. So I think everybody might know who I am, but I'm Aiden Rankin-Williams. I'm the community director here at PlayerMint, and I've been a gamer since childhood, entered crypto in 2017. Grant and I founded PlayerMint back in 2018, and then I worked for Emergo in 2019. Might have to update that so it doesn't say the same for every single town hall. But if you don't know who I am, that's a little bit of a background. And so we have quite a fun town hall today. The biggest thing that is going to be on our plate, if you saw the Discord message, I kind of thought it was fun to act as though we were serving up a nice menu, had to make a reservation, all that. But anyways, we got a development update. This is going to be a big one. So in the last town hall, we talked about a roadblock. So we're going to kind of identify what that roadblock was and how we're going about getting rid of it. Then we're going to jump into the founder NFTs. Grant has been putting in a lot of good work on these. They look really cool, and you all are going to get a sneak peek of what they look like and some of their functionality today. Finally, we'll jump into a Fund 6 proposal that I've done with AdaQuest and Felix of the Catalyst Circle. And then we're going to talk about the Rocket League tournament that we have coming up this month for you all on the 16th. Hop into some Q&A. And then unfortunately, we didn't land anyone for a spotlight presentation, but we have a lot of people we're speaking to. So we think that the next town hall, we're going to have a really cool presenter that's going to work really well with what we're talking about. So to jump right into it, what caused this? What caused this development update that we have going on, this little roadblock that you can kind of see here? We have our this is what we like to call our roadmap, and we have our little green PlayerMint card kind of going through the motions, starting off on that scope, design, then we get over to the code base, an audit of that code, and then of course the launch. So right here last week, we kind of talked about a roadblock was forming, and I kind of want to speak to what that roadblock is and what happened with everything. So basically, to be very frank with you all, we had been working with a development group, and we had gone through the scope process and the design process with them, and they did a great job of the designs, and I'm sure some of you all have seen those. But unfortunately, this development group, I don't think has a lot of experience in the blockchain world, or maybe they're taking their first couple steps into it. But what happened is after we finished the design phase of development, they kind of came to us and they said, hey, we need to do a cost analysis based off of the rest of the product. How much is it going to cost in order for us to develop this? We just need to kind of assess what is going to be the total amount we actually need to quote you based off of what we've done so far. And this was at a point where we had already agreed upon an existing price. And they basically kind of came back to us and said, hey, this is what we gave you, a number that we originally thought, but now we kind of need to do a new analysis and see how much it's really going to cost for the rest of development. Yeah, so a bit of a bummer in that regard, but things are always moving forward. So that's what caused the block. And basically they did this cost analysis. And one thing I do want to state here is that they did this cost analysis not only so that they could make sure that they were profitable in the development of the PlayerMint product, but they also wanted to make sure that they could actually provide the resources towards developing it. So in no way at all is this a slideshow presentation to talk bad on this development group. They were purely trying to make sure that they had the money available in order to build out PlayerMint. And unfortunately, what they realized is after we had gone through the scope and design process with them, is that it was going to cost them more money in order to build PlayerMint. So basically at that time, they said, hey, you're going to have two options. You can either stay with us and we will continue working, and our apologies that, this occurred, but we just have to be straightforward and let you all know that, it's going to cost more money than what we originally planned. or you all, if you want, can find a new development group and we will give you all of the designs, all of the work we've done, as well as any money that you all have paid us that we haven't spent on developing your product. And so they were, very professional in that respect and kind of just spoke to that. And basically they gave us these two options. And as a team, we kind of put our heads down and said, okay, hey, what makes the most amount of sense given the information that we have available to us? And ultimately, as you can kind of see, we had two paths and we decided to take the idea of let's find a new development group. Now, this is not because the old one was bad or negative or anything like that. We just felt as though the skill set needed in order to build the rest of the PlayerMint product, it's smarter to go down a route of a group that might have that previous blockchain experience. And that we want to go with someone that might have a little bit closer contact to Cardano, to Plutus, towards the smart contract ecosystem. So we've decided to go with the new development group. And basically what we, the good news part of it, it's an unfortunate bit. It caused a bit of roadblocks. It is going to cause an overall delay in the part where we'll actually be able to launch, but it's not going to cause a massive delay. The product is still going to get out there. It's still going to be amazing. We're still looking very confident to launching this year. And what we're looking at is we've already contacted 3 different development groups and have already spoken with each of them to make sure that they would be up for building out the PlayerMint product and that we could kind of work successfully with them. So we have 3 options. That is Gimbal Labs. They are another Project Catalyst funded project in the Cardano space. Scrum Launch, which is another development group that a good buddy of mine works at. I've already spoken with them. And then, of course, M Labs. And M Labs has been a developer for projects like Liquid, has used them or is partners with them. And they are very well adjusted and know a lot about like Plutus smart contracts, Haskell. And I believe they also do a good bit of work on the Polkadot ecosystem as well. So they are very blockchain savvy. We've spoken with each one of these groups about, working together about building the rest of the development product. And we've currently kind of developed out a scope document that details what we have built, what needs to be built, and we're going to send off that document to each of these groups on Monday. And then we're going to kind of go from there, get a timeline, a budget, a roadmap, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we'll select one to continue the development with. And then the product will resume development and we'll kind of steadily move along towards success, towards a product where we can get paid to play video games. So I do want to, the PlayerMint is very interested in being transparent and open. That's why we're sharing these like kind of behind the scenes facts that, we might not need to 100% share with you all in order to understand what PlayerMint is, but we thought it'd be important to be transparent about our development process so you all don't feel blindsided by anything. So we want to be very transparent in that respect, and that's why we're sharing this today. But more good news out of this is if you attended the last PlayerMint town hall, one thing that you might have seen is we talked about the fact that we're moving from developing our own PlayerMint wallet to using existing wallets like Nami or Yoroi or Daedalus and allowing our users to connect to PlayerMint through an existing wallet as opposed to needing to go through a KYC process and then creating their own PlayerMint wallet. So this essentially effectively creates the product in a more decentralized way. And you can think of it more similarly to interacting with Uniswap, where all you do is connect a wallet and then you're able to interact based off the assets in your wallet. And that acts as your account inside Uniswap. You don't need to go through a process of entering in your email address or things of that nature. So we're really excited about that because this roadblock gave us a time to reflect on the product. How can we make it more user-friendly and more interoperable with the Cardano system? So of course, when you use a wallet like Nami, what happens when you're able to go explore your assets on Pool PM with the Nami wallet, then you're able to take it over to CNFT and buy NFTs over there, and then you can take those back to PlayerMint and sell those from the ones that you got on CNFT and sell them for PMX on PlayerMint, or interact with different DeFi products and have all of your assets in one location, as opposed to having all your assets in PlayerMint and then needing to move them out in order to interact with something like a decentralized exchange. So there's the benefit there. And that overall just means we have further decentralization of our product. And you all don't need to provide as much personal information to use it. You just need to connect a wallet and then link your gaming account. And then we have everything we need in order to start paying you to play video games and enable you to mint NFTs and trade them as well, all through that currency you earn. So there's the good news. We really wanted to be transparent with all of that. That's kind of why we're presenting this and bringing it up today. So basically, we can say right now we are in the process of kind of removing that roadblock that I mentioned. We're headed onto the code base side of things, that PRD or product requirements document, that scope that details what needs to be built with the rest of the product. Like I said, is going out on Monday to all of these development groups. So we have a really good step forward, and all of them have said that they're open to working with us. Of course, nothing is official until documentation is signed. So we have not officially partnered or begun working with any of these groups, but the door is open in order to do so. So we feel really good about our next step going forward. And of course, like I said, we're all about transparency. So I highly encourage, if anyone listening to this, whether you're live or you're listening to it in a week from now, if you have questions about what I just mentioned, you're more than welcome to join the PlayerMint Discord and ask. We're going to be super transparent. But I just want to kind of finish this off where, we're happy with the work that our original dev group did for us, and we're really appreciative and thankful and grateful for what they did. But now we're able to take it in a new direction with some product upgrades added in there. So if anyone has any questions, we'll open up Q&A at the end of this town hall, and you're more than welcome to bring up there, or you can throw them in the Discord and I'll be sure to answer them. But moving on to awesome new things, I wanted to bring up a little bit of the founder NFT sneak peek. So as you can see here, we kind of have an image. None of these images are the absolute final edition. These are kind of some drafts that Annie Weatherwax in Backwards Geometry have been kind of making up for us. And we're really excited because ultimately we want these founder NFTs to be very interactable. As you can see, it's kind of 3D, and this is just one example of them. And we have a couple editions and variations coming out. But as you can see, there's this 3D element. So one thing that we're really excited about doing is bringing aspects of rarity and verity. So as you can see, this one's got a nice purple hue, and it has like a different design on the front side of this cube here. Whereas as you can see on the top there, it still says PlayerMint founder, right? So one thing that we really want to do is make it so that these things are displayable in like augmented reality. So you could, project it on your desk. And if you look through your camera on your phone, you could actually display it in your virtual world, maybe even take a selfie with it. And then one thing we also want to do is make them interactable. So you can like spin this cube around and look at the different sides of it. So maybe each side of the cube has its own variation of design. So maybe one side has this, variation, and another side has a constantly moving variation, and all these kind of different flavors of what the PlayerMint founder NFTs could look like. So we're all working on this, variations, cool stuff going on. But I think what we're really excited about this is having this act as a case study for NFTs that bring utility from a community and product perspective. So we want these NFTs to really provide value in the sense that, one, they might look cool. You can display them in an augmented reality. You can interact with them and you can spin around a cube, but we want them to bring value beyond that in the sense that they act as community access. So that means pre-launch and post-launch, we want these founder NFTs where if we can identify that you're holding them in a wallet, that we can offer you unique benefits. So that can start on the pre-launch side with something like you get a role in our Discord that gives you access to channels. And in those channels, maybe we do things like host exclusive tournaments on like a weekly basis or every 4 or 5 days. And in those, we have CNFT prizes. So if you get one of these founder NFTs, you get to join that every 4-day tournament, win some prizes, and be competing against a smaller group of people for those prizes. Benefits like that, other things of that nature as well, just in regards to, kind of the cool things that you can do there. And we'll be kind of coming up with those utilities as we go. We have a lot of ideas in the backlog, but the general idea is pre-launch, you get access to wider parts of the community, that exclusive. You can kind of think of it as like a Patreon account, but instead of, you paying for a subscription, you own an asset that you can then sell whenever you want to, in our hopes, make a profit on that sale. Of course, these things go up and down depending on the demand, but that's the hope. And then of course, post-launch products. So things like, hey, we have this thing called PlayerMint Pro, which enables you to have, lower minting and transaction fees on the NFT side of things. And then as well as, you gain access to a higher rewards for playing video games in terms of the PMX distribution. So having things like you gain PlayerMint Pro instantly if you own one of these, or you gain a special badge on your account, or you have access to, we're thinking about different, game environments that we can interact with, like Ludo tokens doing a lot of things. So maybe we'll go hit them up and create our own little version of a mini game that you can only play, with if you own one of these founder NFTs. Maybe we'll partner up with other projects and do airdrops to the founder NFT holders, things of that nature. We really want to make sure that these bring value because it provides our team a way to have further interaction and engagement with our community, but it also gives you all a way to kind of interact with the system and get a little piece of it before we launch. So that's on the horizon. We're super excited about that. But moving forward, to wrap this up, I don't want to take too much of your all's time, is we also have something in the Fund 7 challenge setting. So I think you all might know that right now Project Catalyst is going on Fund 6. And one thing that they have in every single fund is a challenge setting challenge. And basically what that is what are going to be the challenges for the next fund. So for Fund 7, what are the challenges that we're trying to solve via an amount of money attributed to it? So for example, on the for us, one thing that we are doing in partnership with AdaQuest, Marcin of AdaQuest, and Felix of the Catalyst Circle is that we want to do one called, shout out to Felix for this amazing name, Gamers on Chain. So the whole challenge is all about what can we do to bring blockchain gaming applications to Cardano in order to achieve mass adoption. So if you are building a gaming project and you want to get funding for it in an equity-free, token-free sale way, you can apply to this fund if we win in the Fund 6 voting, so that this becomes a challenge in Fund 7. So gamers out there, whether you're a developer or just a gamer yourself, you can apply to this challenge with a proposal in the hopes that your proposal gets funded. So only gaming-based challenges will exist within this this challenge. So that's really exciting, and we really hope that you all, the gamers out there, can kind of get excited behind this. If you vote for Project Catalyst in Fund 6, I highly recommend you taking a look at this challenge proposal once voting begins, and consider giving it a vote if you believe it's worth it. So just wanted to kind of bring up everything in that regard. So if you do anything in the blockchain gaming world, this will be your place to make a little bit of money in order to fund a project that can bring more gamers to Cardano. And then we all benefit, because all the builders out there, PlayerMint might be building a gaming blockchain application. AdaQuest might be doing the same. And if we bring more gamers onto Cardano and they're all using Nami Wallet to interact with us, or they're all using Yoroi to interact with us, then we can start doing fun things like the founder NFT in PlayerMint brings you benefits in X or Y video game. And we can kind of have fun interoperability and stuff like that. So that's on the horizon as well. But moving forward, I'll finish up here by basically saying, that we have the Rocket League tournament is coming up. This will be the last slide here before we jump into Q&A. But we have this Rocket League tournament coming up. We're super thrilled about this. We got a lot of interesting reception from the team and all of the participants last time. So this will be part 2 of the Cardano Rocket League tournament. And right now, the collaborating partners are PlayerMint, of course. We have, of course, the wonderful Retro Stake Pool. If anyone's looking for a pool to delegate to, highly recommend checking out Retro. And then over here, we have Van, who runs the 420 Weed Stake Pool. He's a super, chill, wonderful guy. Definitely recommend checking him out. He's another pool if you're looking to delegate to. I think he also does some awesome CNFT drops to his delegators. So that's another one. And then finally, we're working with an esports organization called Starving Esports, and they're all about kind of forming a community, and they do a lot of scrims and custom matches in Fortnite, and they're looking to take a step into Rocket League. So that's kind of what's on the horizon in terms of Rocket League tournaments, and that is going to occur on the 16th of this month. So we're super excited to host this. It's going to be kind of a similar format as last time, but we're probably going to do registration through Discord, so that communication and registration all occurs in the same place, as opposed to send you all to a Google form that you then get sent an email from, that you then get told to join a Discord and then play Rocket League on your console or PC. We can just remove a lot of that complexity by all putting it in one place. So the big question I have to you all, and we're going to open up Q&A, so maybe this can be the first question I ask to you all is what do we want this to be? Solos, duos, trios? If we do more than solos, we're probably going to ask people to register as a team. And we'll, of course, create a channel where people can form a team. But when you register, we would ask that you register as a team just so we don't need to match people up after people register. And then finally, we have capital in order to produce a prize pool. So we can either go off and kind of contact sponsors like we did last time with Ada Quest, Cardania, and Drunken Dragon, or we can kind of, contact new sponsors, or we can go off and we have a little bit of capital that we could put towards making an NFT ourselves. So hiring out some sort of designer to make our own Cardano Rocket League tournament NFT, and then mint that and maybe make a first, second, and third place NFT and distribute that out to the winners. So I'd love to hear what people are interested in terms of a prize pool perspective. Maybe we can even do both. So that is kind of the PlayerMint Town Hall number 6. I really appreciate everyone listening. We had a lot of information today, from the update on the dev side and what's happening with that Roadblock, to the founder NFTs, Rocket League tournament, and all the fun stuff in between. So if anyone has any questions at this time, I'd love to hear them. I'm going to open up YouTube just to see if anyone is also asking questions on there. But if you all want to ask a question, throw it in the chat, or please feel free to raise your hand and I'll let you unmute yourself. Here we go. It looks like we got you raising your hand. Awesome.
Hey, Aiden, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Good to hear from you again. I was just a little more curious about the whole Rocket League tournament and everything. I love the format. I would love for you guys to have it as a threes. That way more people can participate, more events can happen at the same time. It's a little bit more fast paced.
Yeah. So you definitely think that the trios would be the way to go. Yeah. So I think one thing that we can definitely do is I think it'd be great in order to enable people to do the trios or the duos. I agree. I think one thing that we noticed last time is that, a person like myself would enter a lobby and they would be against someone who is, for example, I think, what was it? Shushami, I want to say was their name. And they were in the top 2% of players in the world. And, they absolutely just crush you. So I think having a teammate can be a little bit of fun there. It also adds a new interesting element of gameplay. So I definitely agree. We just got to figure out enabling people to, form a group with people in the community. But I think that would be a fun way for people to interact with one another. So I think we'll definitely try to do duos or trios. Trios makes it a little bit harder because you add in that third person, but I think it's definitely doable. Awesome. Here, I'm just going to check the live stream. And if anyone else has any questions.
I got a question about the NFTs.
Totally.
First off, I think the prize pool giving away NFTs as the prizes, I think that's pretty cool because, they're obviously minted on the blockchain, and really that creates like a rarity, and you can kind of flash that as like a badge if you win, it's like, so I think that'd be a cool prize. But I have a question about the founder NFTs actually. Do you guys have any idea about like how many of those you're going to be minting and like the cost of them and all that? Or is it too early?
Yeah, no, we have some idea in concept. I think Grant are kind of going back and forth as we have different opinions as to the total supply. But for cost, when we were originally talking about it, ADA was more so at like the $2 mark. And of course, I think we can all be pretty happy. It's much higher than that now. And I haven't checked it today, but we're around $3. So I think in terms of cost, we definitely want it to be affordable to anyone that wants to purchase it. So probably something, it depends on where ADA's at, but probably something in the like 20 ADA range. We haven't set an exact amount, but we want it to be accessible and not absurdly expensive. So maybe something in the 20 ADA range. I mean, ADA's getting up there, so who knows, it could be closer to 15 or even 10 ADA, but we don't have an exact price in mind. But we do want it to be accessible. But the end goal is to bring capital into PlayerMint so that we can have money in order to finish the rest of development, as well as do other kind of fun stuff from a marketing perspective, and maybe include a little bit more features in the launch product. So in terms of total supply, we're looking at something in the thousands range. I think it's possible we could do lower. At least I kind of think it'd be awesome to do, only a few hundred, but then of course you run into the problem of if there's less of them, we might need to make a higher cost because the people that are designing them are the wonderful anti-weather wax and backwards geometry. And we of course want them to get a good commission and make it well worth their time. So it's kind of a matter of if there's less of them, we need to make them a little bit more expensive. And if there's more of them, we can make them less expensive. So it's like, how do we find that happy medium? And I think that's going to be more defined once like I spoke to, there's going to be different variations in terms of the coloring and the box and what's on the box designs. And then also like what the pedestal that the box is floating over. So I think depending on those variations and how many of those we can make, that will also affect the total supply. But we're looking at something in the thousands range. Low thousands. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah. And does anyone else have any kind of questions or things they want to bring up? I know that the founder NFTs, we're really excited to launch those. If anyone has thoughts as to how we can kind of make them have a bit more utility in the system, we'd be more than happy to hear you out. We just think it'd be really cool to kind of shoot these off to everyone and then they can kind of start doing fun stuff with them. And, Nami Wallet already has a way to authenticate if someone holds a certain asset. So we thought it'd be really cool if we made a Discord role specifically for founders and then they gain access to nice permissions and all that fun stuff.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right. And then we're already planning on integrating with Nami at launch in terms of a wallet. So it'd be cool because then a bunch of the potential users, you all could already have a Nami wallet set up and ready to kind of integrate, so you're ready from the get-go.
Yeah, it'd be cool to make it look like, if you get a founder NFT, I guess seems like what you guys are trying to go for is like kind of like an exclusive club type thing, right? Like you have a founder NFT, you get certain perks and benefits for having a founder NFT, displaying it in a certain way that makes you look like stand out from everybody else type thing, having a role in the Discord. I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad. Yeah. And then we of course wanted to provide more benefits than what I guess you could attribute to the similar nature of like a cosmetic in a video game where it looks cooler. We definitely wanted to provide further utility as well. So having something like tournaments available, having something like, there's an element of like, how much do you want to make exclusive? Like having like one-on-one conversations and stuff like that shouldn't really be made exclusive. Anyone should be able to have one-on-one conversations with the team. So we're trying to figure out what's the pro-con ratio in terms of what do we make exclusive and what do we not make exclusive, because anything in regards to like communication and information, we don't want to create any asymmetries between the community. So it's kind of a balance as to let's make it so that the people with founder NFTs have more opportunities for fun from like an event perspective, more opportunities to get paid to play before launch, stuff like that.
Well, especially because you guys aren't doing like an ICO or anything like that. So it makes it so people can get involved before you guys launch. Exactly.
Yeah. And we can start to kind of do fun stuff. It's possible you could even do something like, we could even go about minting, a few PMX that gets like distributed out to people with founder NFTs, stuff like that, where, we hold a tournament and that tournament acts as an initial distribution of some PMX or, of course that's not, official and something that we're definitely going to do, but there's that idea floating around where we can start providing nice benefit to these users or these holders.
I don't know if you guys cover any of this in the white paper. I know you guys have some sort of stuff on like reward pool. Are you guys going to do anything on PlayerMint as far as like being able to liquidity mine or like yield farming or anything like that with BMX tokens?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thought. That's not going to be anything that we're looking at for launch product. I think one thing that we've kind of learned is like, define the scope and then let's build out the product as is. And, we don't really kind of want to get into that world of scope creep. So I think one thing in regards to like yield farming in that DeFi stuff, a lot of that is very complex. And I think one thing that at least my belief is that, I always feel a little bit weird when a token's purpose is to increase in value. And that might sound a little bit weird, but as in like the whole reason it exists is in order for it to have some sort of like price effect. Like, for example, what we see in a lot of Binance Smart Chain tokens where, anytime that, the Binance Smart Chain token is sold on Pancake Swap, 5% of that transaction gets distributed out to all the other wallets, stuff like that, where it's all about essentially disincentivizing people to sell the asset in order for the price to keep pumping, seems a little bit weird. So if we were to ever do some sort of DeFi product, we'd want it to like have some sort of means in the sense that like it provides utility at the end of the day. So I think something, of course, like, liquidity mining where you're actually helping decentralized exchange of an asset is really interesting. We could do something there, or something on like the micro lending side of things could be really cool, because a capacity for gamers to lend out their PMX to one another and then have smart contracts do the work of interest payments could also be really cool. So I think something to that extent definitely interests us, but we don't have
That's an
any
interesting
current
idea.
plans. Yeah. Right, because it'd be really cool. Like, oh, hey, I want to get the new, video game that's going to be supported by PlayerMint. Hey, can someone lend me enough PMX to purchase the video game? And then I'm going to go play that video game and make enough PMX to pay it back, or something cool like that. Or like, hey, I want to buy a new console, or hey, I really want to get in on this dip, but I don't want to get a bunch of capital gains tax on selling PMX, something like that.
Or even something kind of like Axie, where you have like I don't know how you guys would integrate this, but Axie Infinity, they basically, you can like rent your NFT out to people across the world and allow them to play and make money, and then you split, so interesting. There's a lot of avenues you guys could go down.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, there's, for example, with like the founder NFTs and all of the in-product benefits we want to offer, like that PlayerMint Pro stuff and all the kind of other ideas we're having, it could be cool to almost do like a lending program with these founder NFTs. Because one, that's going to bring the founder NFT holders more value, but it's also going to enable you to do things like, hey, other people can obtain that value through something like lending, and then you all can get benefits. So it's like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to use PlayerMint because I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, and I'm not bringing my PS5 around me through Europe or whatever. Maybe, I'm going to lend it out to my buddy at like, a small interest payment of PMX. And, I'll get paid, 5 PMX a day, for each day that it's lent out. And then they get those exclusive, benefits and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of interest in that. And that might be our first step into things like DeFi is almost like the lending of community access NFTs. Because at least that's one of our proposals in Fund 6 is how can we make it so that gaming content creators can mint NFTs that have benefits to their communities, in terms of like, if I'm following someone of like FaZe Clan and they mint an NFT, maybe that gains me access to like going to the FaZe team's mansion and like having a day with them and playing video games with them on stream. And it's like, I could like lend out that NFT to someone else so that they get to experience those benefits for a month, but I don't actually have to sell the NFT outright. So I think there could be a lot of economic transaction there. And then, hey, maybe the content creator or the minter of that NFT can still get like a small royalty on that interest. So everybody wins and walks away with a bit more PMX in their pocket. So there's definitely a bunch of fun ideas there. And I like that you bring that up, because it's going to start definitely making us think about what's our entrance into DeFi, because that's definitely something that's coming up. And this idea of like GameFi is definitely on the horizon. And of course,
yeah, it's interesting because I was just thinking like just trying to bring multiple ways of making money to players and the community on your guys' platform would bring more utility and bring more adoption just overall. So I think like that's why I asked about the whole DeFi thing, and because there's going to be some limitation, because it seems like the way you guys weight getting paid out in PMX, like based on a lot of skill. There's going to be a lot of players who really aren't that skilled, who maybe don't have as much opportunity to earn PMX. So if you had some way to allow them to like, I don't know, like that's why I brought up the whole, like maybe not yield farming, but like liquidity mining or, other DeFi applications. So interesting.
Totally. Yeah. I'll let you ask your question, William, just in one moment. But to answer that, I think we've definitely thought about like, because there's this kind of distribution curve, and we might know this kind of, I think it's called the Pareto distribution. And that's kind of the idea that like there's a small percentage of people that generally gain access to the majority of the resources, because you generally have this long tail where there's going to be a bunch of people there's going to be a small amount of people that have a lot of skill, and then there's going to be a lot of people that kind of have an average amount of skill. And how do you make the best distribution model of PMX in terms of making sure that people with just an average amount of skill are still getting rewarded for that skill, but having a lot of skill is still being compensated fairly? So there's kind of an analysis of like, how do we make sure that everyone's going to get some level of opportunity, depending on where they are on that skill ladder, to still get meaningful payouts of PMX? And at what point do you stop that payout? Because then you're going to detract from the rest of the people's capacity to have meaningful payouts. So there's definitely a balance there. And we've looked into things as simple as like, hey, could we do things like make it so that 5% of the distributing supply of PMX goes to like bug bounties and hackers, or hacker bounty finders, or whatever you want to call them. But the concept of like, hey, if an indie game that we support has a lot of hackers, or we support CSGO and they have a huge hacking problem, some sort of benefit where if that person goes forward and actively reduces the amount of hacking, or actively reports bugs that once fixed, overall improve the game experience, what you can start to do is not only incentivize people to play the video game, but also incentivize people to make the game more enjoyable to play. So that no matter what your skill level, you have some sort of way to earn PMX is definitely something that we're looking at. And that kind of falls into the idea that like, we're going to layer these things on. So we have that first layer of, people get paid to play and commit NFTs. And then we're going to kind of stack things up where now the NFTs are interoperable with video games. And now you can do, lending of NFTs. And then you can kind of go out and do fun stuff like what we're speaking about now. But yeah, William, I'd be happy to hear out your question or comment, whatever you got going on.
Well, I was just going to say, this is related to the deal of lending out your NFT, and I guess in connection to that, royalties.
Mm.
And I know that there's I think it's SIP 27. I don't find it on the list yet, but it has to do with royalties before and kind of separate from smart contracts, where right now royalties can be built into the NFTs.
Mm.
So I know that there is a group of people working on that right now, but there's also regulatory impact possible in the future. And since you guys are kind of touching the third rail, you have a US-based company, it's going to take some research on the regulatory side to make sure that you're not stepping into quicksand with that capability, because I think we both understand that people that like to tell people what to do want to control their money too. So they want to take your money and then you spend it to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And that being the case, they could come along and just swat you like a bug, saying, well, you're an example of, and that the more popular you are, the more of a target you become. So if you've hardened yourself against that before they even come along, then you're like, that was my comment. Is basically they're looking, they're searching every nook and cranny, trying to find ways of worming their way in or wedging their way in to slap people down. And the more successful somebody is, the more effort they're going to spend trying to come after you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think regulatory clarity is something that I think the whole crypto industry is seeking and is trying to pursue. I think NFT royalties is something that, like, I think you're bringing up a good point. A lot of people have kind of the regulatory clarity is more so moving in the direction of like fungible token sales and stuff like that. But it'd be interesting to see like people are almost using NFTs as a ways to raise capital for projects. But, is that considered security? And like you said, on the royalty side of things, how much of that is due? Does the government need to take a portion of that? When does that taxation occur? Does that occur on the capital gains? Because if the royalties in PMX, does the capital gains tax occur once that PMX earned from that royalty is sold? Or is it at that point where the royalty is obtained that it's charged as income? So I think you're definitely bringing up a really good point in the sense that we have to do our legal research, and we have to make sure that as a company we're secure and that we're in a good environment. I mean, currently we're actually planning on we're working to be headquarters out of Florida, and Florida is kind of taking good steps towards quality crypto regulation, from the sense that, like, I believe even their governor or mayor, I don't want to misquote it, but they're looking at even putting 1% of their balance sheet in Bitcoin. So they're definitely looking to become Bitcoin friendly. But beyond that, we're also in connection with a group called Crans and Associates, and their whole shtick is kind of providing financial, I guess you could say, wellness in like regulatory resources for companies. And a big portion of that is in regard to blockchain. So we actually have been leaning on them in a sense to get more clarity on that regulatory environment. So I think you're bringing up a great point. We should spend a little bit of capital on making sure that they can do some research and give us, a clear documentation on, how do we handle regulation and in all that in user terms and conditions, and make sure that it's very aware to our users as to how royalties on NFTs work. So I think you're bringing up a great point. We should definitely put some money into making sure that legally everything is very, very clear. And if the SEC ever wants to come say, hey, what are you all up to? We're able to say, hey, here's all this documentation. Here's all this, legislation and whatnot, and, regulation, all of these words. I think you all get the picture that I'm painting.
Well, hopefully it's more of a model of that resembles more like real estate as property, right? And I think William just posted this in the chat, but when the SEC, like when you rent out your property, right, you're not going to get taxed beforehand, right? Like you get taxed on the gains that you make. And more interestingly, there are mechanisms in real estate when you own property that you can actually tax defer indefinitely. It's called the 1031 exchange. Essentially, when you have one investment, you can roll over your gains. If you make gains on that investment, at least in real estate, you can roll those gains over into another asset, and you can actually defer the taxes indefinitely. So it'd be interesting to see what the SEC does with something like that with NFTs, because obviously, like Bitcoin NFTs, we know that they're considered property as of right now. So obviously, we have to see what they do, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of mechanisms are produced with the regulation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens and all that. I'm kind of curious to definitely like kind of jump into all that. My world is definitely, I don't have a whole lot of background in the legal side. I kind of just have that like retail investor knowledge of making sure that, I use something like cryptotrader.tax or one of those services to plug in all my transactions for when tax day rolls around. But definitely on the NFT side of things, I wouldn't be surprised if there's numerous companies out there working to make it easy to document that NFT transaction history and make sure that that's uploaded from a tax compliance objective. So I'll definitely look into that, and I'll definitely bring it up with the rest of the team and make sure that we hit up Crans and Associates about how we can best navigate that. So I appreciate you all bringing this up and providing resources and education. William, I see that you have your hand up. I'm not sure if that's from the original, time you raised your hand, or if you have a new question, but feel free to ask if you do.
That is from the original time.
Okay, I got you. Awesome. Yeah, so I think, if anyone else has any questions they kind of want to cover or go over, I'd be more than happy to hear them out. I want to make sure that we're extremely transparent and open, and we're kind of building everything up from the ground, and making sure that everyone's a part of this. So if anyone has any thoughts, suggestions, questions, I'd be more than happy to hear them out. Awesome. It looks like we are all good to go. We don't have any more questions. So I just want to kind of end everything off by saying I really appreciate everyone showing up to our 6th town hall. We're going to keep on moving on these. Final thing I would say is it's very possible that we don't host a town hall next Sunday, because I think we all know what's happening. And if you don't, check your calendar. I believe it is going to be the 12th. And 12th is the Alonzo hard fork. So smart contracts are coming on live in 1 week. So I think we can all be super excited about that. But I think everyone's going to be doing watch parties and things like that. I'm actually going to be on a plane. So hopefully I can join some sort of YouTube stream or something like that from a plane. I don't think that's going to be super likely, but I don't know if we're going to have a town hall at that time. I'll talk to Grant. He might be able to host one, but we'll keep you all updated on that. We really appreciate everybody showing up, and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, stream. We had a good one. We'll see you the next time. Have a good one.